and Pat Kelly.
Go, 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 go.
You like that?
Fitty?
Now, is it really 50, or is it because he has a speech impediment and can't say 50? I've always wondered that, because I don't want to sound like the whitest guy in America by saying, I like 50 Cent. So is it really 50, or is this?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't. Doesn't he live in? He lives in Connecticut, doesn't he?
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Okay, I take back everything I said about his speech impediment. James Stevenson from Precision Auto Repair. What's going on, man?
Yeah, not much. Yeah, I think he lives in was it Mike Tyson's old? So it was like MC Hammer's house, and then Mike Tyson had it, and now.
Is it like Northern
50 has
Connecticut?
it. I think Farmington area.
Okay, so they might be able to get. Yeah, they probably could get us. Hey, what's going on, 50? What's going on, 50 Cent?
50.
James Stevenson from Precision Auto Repair. Welcome to Boys Under the Hood. We're answering car care questions. First, nice to see you up at Pioneer Valley Indoor Karting.
Oh yeah,
You and
yeah,
the
it was
boys.
a great time.
Now you posted your times. There's 5 of you, and I think every single one of the times was like under 21 seconds for your best lap.
Yeah, it's a competitive group.
And somebody got 19 seconds.
That wasn't us. Yeah, he was just. I guess that was somebody else earlier.
There's always
That was
some.
just best time of the
There's
night.
always some ringer they throw in there to make
Some
you feel
hot shot.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me race these guys. They don't know what they're doing. So.
We've been there a few times. It's always a good time. Everybody up there treats us very well, and the carts are wonderful. The track's well maintained. One of my guys gets sick every time we go.
What do you mean? Throw up sick?
Yeah, he gets like sick. Yeah, like throws up. I don't know, something with the motion, or I don't know.
Well, now, is it just the racing, or does he have motion sickness? Like if he gets in a boat, does he get sick too?
He's young and super cocky. So when we drive up there, he's like, which one of you guys is gonna come in second place? Just really egging everybody on. And then when we get there, he makes it like, I don't know, 1 race, 2 races. The first time it happened, it was the first time he went up there, and the race ends, and he gets out of the cart, and he springs up out of the cart, and I was right behind him, and he looks at me, and then he runs the other way and ran towards the door, and there was a wastebasket, and he got sick. I'm like, dude, are you okay? Like, what happened? He was like, no, it's fine. I had too much soda.
Right.
So then, we go again, and same thing. He got sick again. So we obviously bust him for that.
If he played that right, as you guys are racing, he could just like turn to the side and drop that right on the track and like
all in his own helmet, though.
Oh, that's right. I forgot the helmet's on. Because I'm thinking he could drop a slick behind him and screw up everybody behind him, win the race no matter what.
That's disgusting.
Just
It's a good idea, yeah. It's a good idea.
James, I am full of these great ideas.
Yeah.
That's why you join us every Tuesday.
Do anything to win.
You can text your car care questions on James' Facebook page, Precision Auto Repair, also Lazer99.3.com. Let's jump right into it. Our first question comes from Kevin in Chicopee. He drives a 2007 Nissan Xterra. He writes, I don't really have a question about repairs, but I was wondering if you could help me understand something. My truck was at, and it says shop name removed, in Agawam. They were doing an oil change, but then told me I need brakes. I didn't authorize them to check the brakes, and when I told them I wasn't doing them. I think it's shady that they tried to upsell me. Why do shops do this? Are they trying to upsell him, or are they just kind of looking out for him?
Not really. I mean, it sounds like they're looking out for him, and maybe it was just the presentation of what they were doing, or maybe when he dropped off the vehicle, they didn't properly explain what they were doing. But it sounds like the shop was actually doing a thorough job. So, I don't really. What did it say he brought it in for?
Initially an oil change.
Okay, so he brought it in for an oil change. I mean, they visually inspect a lot of these things, and good shops. It's not that a good shop makes recommendations, but a good shop checks a vehicle over, and sometimes a vehicle needs maintenance. Things break, things wear out. Like, that's the point of what people would call an oil change. It's so that you can get in there and you can have your vehicle looked at periodically a few times a year or whatever that would be. Shops not only have like an ethical obligation, they have a legal obligation. If something goes wrong when you leave their shop and you happen to get injured, I mean, there could be a real serious problem there, or you injure somebody else. So to me, I think that maybe, Kevin, that you just kind of received that information wrong. But it sounds to me like maybe you were at a good shop and they were just trying to look out for you and look out for the best interest of your vehicle and maybe everybody else on the road. They're going to go through a pretty extensive checklist. Most shops will when they do that oil change and report those findings back to you. And that sounds like that's what they did.
Now he says that he's not going to get the job done. Is a brake job optional, James?
Sometimes it can be optional. It just depends, because, Pat, if you brought your truck in today and we were taking a look at the brakes, and I'd say, you know what, Pat, like these rear brakes are really worn down, and these need to be done today, but these other ones, in the front, we can wait until summer, or maybe before next winter you're going to need to do those. So in some cases they can wait. Other cases, every vehicle's different. Brake pads wear out, parts wear out, things get hot, they wear out, they get, whatever it would be. Things just break, wear out. It's just what happens. If you're going to use your car, then things are going to break and wear out. If you're not going to use your car and it's just going to sit there, then things are still going to wear out. It's just what happens. So, Kevin, it doesn't sound like they were doing anything shady or anything like that. They just, they were just trying to help you, and it sounds like maybe, that message just wasn't received properly.
You're listening to Boys Under the Hood. Pat Kelly joined by James Stevenson from Precision Auto Repair, and we are fielding your car care questions. Maintenance, repairs, or whatever it is. Even if you have a question about, should you sell your car? Should you get into something different? You can drop your question on the Precision Auto Repair Facebook page or Lazer99.3.com. I got a call earlier today. It was like 10 of 5, and a guy said that he...
That's too early for me to answer questions.
Yeah, I know. Me too. It's been a tough day for me in general here. And not due to anything I did last night, by the way. I just want to put that aside. So he said he's had a half a tank of gas. He tries to keep a half a tank of gas in his car. He doesn't drive it a whole lot. And his question was, does gasoline go bad?
Yes and no. I mean, is he still driving the vehicle, or is he storing it?
He says that he drives it sparingly, but he's only got about a half a tank in there.
Well, define sparingly, because does he drive it once every 5 years? Does he drive it once a year? Gasoline will begin to kind of break down. There's a couple additives that people add to it when they store their vehicle for months or years on end. It's something called stable. So they put that in the fuel lines, or not in the fuel lines, right in the tank, and then you kind of want that stuff to circulate around a little bit. But that'll help prevent the fuel from breaking down. But yeah, fuel does essentially go bad over time. But if he's driving it once every month or something like that, he's probably not going to have all that much of an issue. It's just extended periods of time storing it. Like if I'm storing my car for the winter, even if it's just going to be a few months, 3, 4, 5 months or something, I'll put something in the fuel system. Same thing with like the boat or any of that other stuff. Anybody that stores a vehicle should use that. So the quick answer is yeah, but you can use an additive, or just if you're driving it that frequently, once a month or once every couple weeks or something like that, then I wouldn't really worry about it too much.
You're listening to Boys Under the Hood. James Stevenson from Precision Auto Repair joins us every Tuesday right around this time. Let's get right up to our next question. This question comes from West Springfield, and Mark, who drives a 2011 Toyota Camry. Awesome show, Pat and James. I love that.
Thanks,
kind words are always nice. Thanks, Mark. Keep up the good work. My whole office listens every day. I hit a crater in the road recently and got a flat tire. The tire place said I need to get to a mechanic. Went to a mechanic because I use them for oil changes, and they said I need to replace both struts in front and a bunch of other stuff. They want over $1,500. I found a guy at a legit shop that will replace the one strut and weld the other piece back together. $250. How can I help this from happening to other people? I definitely blasted them online, but people need to know about this stuff. What's going on with this guy? Is he getting a deal or is he not?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that somebody messaged us on Facebook the other day, and they said, how come you guys never mention the other shop? So it's just because we don't do that. There's 3 sides to every story, so we're just never going to put another shop on blast, whether it's good, bad, and different.
Right, that's
it's just. Yeah, it's just we'll never do that. So if you hear that we've deleted the shop name, or we just do that intentionally. We don't know the whole story, so we would never want to unintentionally or even intentionally make somebody look bad. It's just not what we're trying to do here. It's,
right.
It's supposed to be helpful. So, Mark, your question: there's always going to be a lowest bidder. For everything and anything that you're going to do, whether it's car repair, home repair, whatever it is, you want to buy sunglasses on Amazon, there's always going to be a lowest bidder. But you really need to find somebody that you're comfortable with, and you know that they're capable of doing the job. They're going to stand behind the job. The thing with auto repair is that, and I think the thing with most companies is that blasting a company online is rarely ever an effective method of conflict resolution, ever. Most companies, if you have an issue with them, you might want to just contact them, and I don't know what the initial shop was. So you may want to contact them and just ask them what exactly was on their quote, and then you might want to actually compare that like line by line with what's on your friend's quote, or the other shop's quote, or whatever this other guy is. $1,500 to $250 is obviously, it's a big difference, but when one guy is kind of like gluing things back together and welding things and maybe only replacing this one little part, maybe the other shop was doing a more thorough job that was in your best interest. You know, there are a lot of cases where we see vehicles come in that may have something damaged, but you need to replace like another part that goes along with that for another reason. So like a perfect example here would be, you know, the vehicle's got, say, 100,000 miles on it, and the struts are probably already worn. Somebody drives and hits like a large hole and they damage something, and now you need to replace, you know, say the right front strut is bad. And then, like, are you just gonna replace the right front strut, or would you do them both in sets, right? You would do them both in sets, because now you're gonna have one nice, like, stiff strut that's gonna be doing what it needs to do, and the other one's just kind of flat and worn out. So now you're gonna feel that the vehicle's not gonna handle properly, and it's just not in the customer's best interest to do it like that. So in this case, both struts really should be replaced. I honestly do not think that you're doing an apples to apples comparison. I don't know what the scope of the work is, so I can't fully say that, but just based on years of doing this, I can tell you that that lowest bidder isn't always just cutting like their labor time or what their charge is gonna be down, right? They're doing less work. So you need to really make sure that, you know, the guy that's replacing a part that may be bad and now somebody else is like, well, I can weld this together for you. Like, is that gonna hold? Is that gonna be, like, are you gonna feel comfortable with that? If you hit some type of a pothole on the highway going 80, are you gonna trust this guy's weld at that speed? You know, or is it just that you care only about the dollar amount? And I mean that in the most respectable way possible. Because some people really just, all they want is the job done, and they just want to pay the lowest amount, and that's great. And there are a lot of places around that will cater to that person, and that's awesome. But I can tell you that the majority of the shops that I know, or, you know, our shop, you know, Precision, or, you know, a lot of other shops around, they're going to be more about quality. I would rather fix a job properly and charge a little bit more to do that, but know that when that car leaves, like, I have no worries. I know that that customer can drive that car and they're gonna have no problem. They're gonna enjoy the ride of it now. It's gonna ride better. It's just gonna be, you know, it's gonna be a better car than it was when they brought it into us, rather than crossing my fingers and hoping that, well, I hope they don't take a right turn too hard. You know what I mean?
Well, it's also one of those things too, where you want equal wear on things. It's if, let's say all 4 of your tires are bald.
Yeah.
You don't want to just replace the one that's the worst.
I can understand.
You want the equal wear on it. Is that not true, or?
Well, you know, in some vehicles like all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, you're required to replace 4 tires at one time. We can get into that, but it would end up being a little bit technical. So, you know, stuff like that. But I can understand budget. I really do. You know, things rarely come up when you expect them to, when you want them to, when you're budgeted for it to happen. I totally understand that. But if you're going to, you know, spend $1 and then create a much larger problem, or you're just not going to be happy with it when you could spend $2 to do it, like, I understand in this case it's the comparison of $1,500 to $250, but I can tell you that we've been on both sides of this. You know, we've had people come in and say, well, you know, this other shop wanted to charge us, you know, $4,000 for this, and we found out that it was something very minor. Maybe it was overlooked, but you don't really know what happened at the other shop. Did the customer give them, you know, ample amount of time to actually diagnose it? Did they give them the opportunity to diagnose it? Sometimes some people will come in and they'll say, oh, well, my car was at another shop, but it never actually was, and it was just that they went online and they looked something up, and that is their other mechanic, somebody in a forum or somebody on their Facebook post. And again, this is a very small group of people, and, you know, majority of people just really wholeheartedly want their vehicle fixed properly. But I'm just kind of giving, you know, some examples based on stuff that we've seen. And again, I mean it in the most respectful way possible. But we've been on that end of it, and we've been on the other end where we've wanted to replace parts, you know, so we would want to replace both you know, struts, and you would want to replace, you know, other parts that had broken, rather than kind of weld things and glue things back together. It's just not a proper job. The same thing that I tell my customers is that, and that I'll tell everybody, is that if I wouldn't put my wife in the car, I'm not going to put you in the car. And if you don't want to do the work with us, if you don't want to do it properly, then maybe we're just not the best shop for you, and we can recommend other shops. And I think a lot of other people and a lot of other shops really understand that too. Like, I will not try to, like, we're not going to try to make $1 if it's not going to fix your vehicle properly, and you're not going to be safe, because it's not necessarily just about you, right? And the people that you have in your car. What about those people that are standing waiting at a crosswalk, and now you hit a bump right near them, something lets go, a
Right.
wheel falls off and legitimatately kills somebody. Now, I'm not trying to scare people into doing anything properly. I'm just saying, like, these things can happen. There was a shop in New Hampshire. Now, excuse me if I don't remember all of the exact facts of it or anything like that, but I could look it up, but it's spur of the moment, right? But there was a shop, and what had happened was somebody came in for an oil change, just a basic oil change, right? And the guy, told the owner of the shop, hey, I just need my oil change. The oil change got in the shop. They had some younger technician doing it. The kid pulls the vehicle in. The owner says, just do the oil change, does the oil change. Car leaves the shop. And in a very short period of time, something broke on the car. The owner of the car crashed into something and died, right? He ends up going after the shop, and the technician is actually the one that ended up getting in trouble, and I don't remember what the charge was, but the kid went to prison for it because he didn't check out the vehicle properly.
Wow.
So when you have, like the first question we had, what was that from Kevin, right? If the shop doesn't check out the vehicle, when I say that you have a legal and an ethical obligation, like, you've really got to make sure people are safe. You can look up on YouTube all you want how to repair something, but that doesn't actually, that doesn't give you the experience to know if the part is bad or not. Maybe you can look up and see how to change your air filter or something yourself, but when you've got major suspension components, do you know if these bushings are worn or not? Do you know what it's going to look like if it's going to let go? Do you know how the car is supposed to feel? All these things that you really need a professional for. Auto repair, while in some cases it's great if you want to replace your own wipers, you want to replace your own air filter, but safety components and things that are really going to, should they ever let go, create a real serious problem, or if they have already let go, do you really want to, I don't see the rationale in trying to glue things back together. And if it's another shop, I don't see the rationale in trying to glue things back together to put a person on the road in a car like that, because you're that's a huge problem, ethically, aside from the legal. How do you live with yourself if that's how you feel that you want to help it?
And you're rolling the dice.
It's a complete roll of the dice.
You're rolling the dice in your livelihood, you're rolling the dice in your life and your license.
You want to roll the dice, go roll the dice at the casino. Go play craps, go play roulette. You want to gamble, go do that. Go sit somewhere and play Keno for a little while. You never want to gamble with a customer safety. Ever. It's just, that's, what are you doing? Why are you in business?
Right.
You're supposed to be there to fix things and help people. How do you help somebody if you're just basically gluing something back together? It just wouldn't be, I don't know. That to me, it's very, that type of stuff is what gives shops bad names. That type of stuff. It's not the guy that's trying to fix something and honestly trying to, help you and, put the best parts on the car and stand behind it. It's somebody that's trying to glue things back together and give misinformation, because you as the consumer, you don't really, Pat, if I told you there was a lengthy things wrong with your vehicle, you wouldn't know any of it. You'd be like, oh, yeah, you'd
Right.
listen to me, you'd make eye contact, and you'd pretend that you knew what you were talking about or what I was saying, but you wouldn't. You got to trust that the professional that you've taken it to that's assessed your vehicle knows what they're doing, and you know what I mean, and they're being honest with you, and all those other good things. When somebody that is posing as a professional is telling you, well, yeah, I can do the same job for $250, why? Common sense tells you that if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
So, just do an apples to apples comparison. Don't go online and smash the other shop, because chances are you're going to end up back there.
You better tell them that you weren't the guy that, by the way, I was not the guy that bashed you.
Yeah, this guy that did the $250 repair is most likely going to screw something up or miss something. You're going to end up with a problem. He's going to disappear on you, and you're going to need a real shop to take care of this. And that shop's going to be there, wherever it was. I mean, it's completely up to you, obviously, where you take it. But, The easiest thing and the best way that, you know, adults handle things and how we used to handle things before social media is we would tell people if there was an issue. You know, hey, look, Pat, you know, I don't understand this, and then, you know, Pat could explain it to me.
While we're on that subject, how do you think things are going with you and me right now?
I don't know. Pretty good, I think.
It's hard to tell.
I mean, the eye contact is really, it's amazing. I love, you know, I like staring across at you for a half hour every single week.
That's what she said. All right, before we go to the break, I just want to, again, I love how your policy is, if I wouldn't put my wife in the car, I would not send it away without fixing it properly. That's what a great way to go about it. I mean,
Low price or top quality, pick one.
Yep.
Pick one, you can't have two.
You're listening to Boys Under the Hood. James Stevenson from Precision Auto Repair in the studio. We've got more car care questions from you coming up.
James Stevenson and Pat Kelly. Go, 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 go.
Do you like my dance moves? I got zero rhythm.
I think that a word that I underuse regularly is shouty.
Shouty.
Shouty. I start using that.
Yeah, tomorrow's Men's Valentine's Day.
Hope I get some chocolates.
Did you? Okay, so, gentlemen, that's something you probably should search online. March 14th is Men's Valentine's Day, and I've paraphrased what it really is, but
Look it up.
yeah, I would look it up. Welcome back to Boys Under the Hood. James Stevenson from Precision Auto Repair. We're talking about cars here. So I just got to tell you a quick story. So yesterday, brought the Jeep home, and I was going to put it in the garage because the snow was coming. So I parked it in the driveway, and then I walk out, and there's a huge puddle behind it, and liquid's dripping off of it. And I'm like, I couldn't tell what it was. It wasn't oily. So I'm like, screw it. I put my finger in and tasted it because I know what antifreeze tastes like. You know, I used to drink it. Yeah. So I did. I didn't swallow. It's not like I didn't take a shot of it. I had to I had to know what it was. So it turns out, because it explains a lot. So I was rushed to the hospital as a kid for drinking lighter fluid. That's a totally different story. So it turns out, so the Jeep is a convertible, so the top pops off, right? For those of you who don't know what a convertible is, and the line and electrical that goes to the back windshield wiper had popped off. So the tube with the windshield washer fluid had come loose from the fitting, and windshield wiper fluid was going all over the back of the Jeep and then out and down.
Yeah.
So I was able to fix my own car yesterday. I felt very accomplished putting the little plug back in the tube.
Did you know that it was washer fluid based on the taste?
Well, I knew it was washer fluid because I finally opened up the back of the Jeep and the carpet was wet. And then I saw the tube and I'm like, oh, okay.
Why on earth did you taste the fluid?
That's
If
what
somebody
she said.
spills something in a...
Okay, we're back after this. Hang on a second.
Boys Under the Hood with James Stevenson and Pat Kelly. Go.
Just got to restart.
Sorry,
Just reboot.
It's called a reboot. All right, let's get back to the questions. I don't know why it tastes.
If someone spills something in a bathroom, do you?
No,
on the bathroom floor?
it wasn't.
Would you?
You know, usually you can look at it. You can look at the fluid and know what it is, right? I mean, I would know if it was oil. I would know if it was gasoline just by the smell of it. And it just didn't look like anything that I've ever seen. So I'm like, screw it, I'm just gonna put my finger in this to see what it tastes like.
Don't taste fluid.
I went inside and got some chips. Oh, it's great. I was dipping them in it. It was great. No, but so it's all fixed now. So my point is, if anyone needs any car care, give a call to me.
Okay.
I know what I'm doing. Okay, all right. So Megan from West Springfield, she drives a 2010 Nissan Maxima. She said, I just had my brakes replaced and there's a weird smell that wasn't there before. I went back to the shop. They said that the smell is normal, just doesn't make sense to me. Is it normal?
Smell can be normal. Yeah, smell can be normal. Brakes are friction material, so they heat up. So solvents and things like that, they can burn off. Lubrications and things like that, they can begin to burn off a little bit. So that smell usually goes away in, I don't know, a short distance, maybe 100 miles, 200 miles at most. But if you're still experiencing that smell after, I mean, I think a reasonable distance would be about 100 miles. If you're still experiencing that odor after 100 miles, there may be a problem. Something could be locked up in there, and maybe a brake pad isn't releasing and something's heating up. So even though they said it is normal, that is that is a true answer. But that just also is a true answer up to a period of time. So if you've gone maybe more than 100 miles, it could be best to have them take a look at it. If you haven't, then maybe you just want to wait that distance. But smells, odors, things like that, yeah, that can be normal for just a short period of time. Most shops drive the vehicle after repair, and that type of stuff will burn off. The odors and things like that will be gone, but sometimes there'll be like maybe a residual odor inside the car that people, the technician doesn't notice because he's kind of used to it. So sometimes that can happen too, and maybe, customer gets in the car, they're not used to smelling that. So maybe that's what's going on, but 100 miles would be the rule of thumb for me.
Let's get back to me tasting that. So I did smell that fluid before I tasted it.
I need to know why.
I put my finger. I put my finger on it.
I don't want to go any further until I know the why you drank lighter fluid.
I didn't. Oh, I was a kid. Yeah, I was little. I just thought it was a good idea. I was like 3. What are you gonna do?
Oh, my
3 or 4. I was little. Like it was in the garage. Saw something full of liquid. Maybe I was thirsty. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's understandable. Then I was thinking you were like a teenager and you wanted to be a dragon.
No.
And you tried to.
No, I've done that. Never pour gasoline on a lit tennis ball, because you know what happens. The gas follows it right back into the can, and then you're really screwed. Yeah, and then you know what I tried to do after that? I tried to put water on it. Never put water on a gas fire unless you want it to spread all over the place.
I think a great idea would be maybe if we could just have like Pat's common sense tips. You could tell us, do not light a tennis ball on fire and pour gasoline on it.
No.
No?
I burned on half the rhododendron that day too. My mom, she's like, I think that thing's got a sickness. I'm like, yeah, that looks really bad, Ma. You better get that. And I was like 27. No, I wasn't 27.
Sorry.
24. You're listening to Boys Under the Hood. James Stevenson from Precision Auto Repair. You can drop your repair questions or maintenance questions on the Precision Auto Repair's Facebook page. You can also log on to James's website as well, precisionautorepair.biz, or hit us up on ours, Lazer99.3.com. We got time for another one before we talk about your charity. I know you're doing something very, very cool that I want to talk about.
Oh yeah, we've got a great charity kicking off this week.
I do appreciate that you do that as well. This is coming from Emily in Wilbraham, who drives a 2006 Beamer. She says, I had my spark plugs replaced almost a year ago, and my car only went 15,000 miles. I was just at shop name deleted, and they told me my spark plugs need to be replaced because they're burning oil. They told me it was a problem with the PVC valve and that it's making the car suck in oil, destroying the spark plugs. Why didn't this place find this last year, and does this sound normal, or am I being taken advantage of? I know you work on a lot of BMWs, so I was just hoping you could lend me a bit of insight.
All right, so it's called a PCV valve, not a PVC valve. She just maybe easy to transfer that. So it's a positive crankcase ventilation. The basically what the crankcase is, the easiest way to explain it, it's like the lower end of the engine where where all the oil and everything sits. There's something in there called a crank. So as you drive a vehicle, the oil begins to heat up. It creates a little bit of pressure, and then the main part of this system is that you get something called blow-by, which is very difficult to explain without getting technical, but pressure from how the engine is running ends up in the engine oil. It passes through these things called rings. But anyways, the main point of it is that it creates, just the engine running creates a lot of pressure in the lower end of the engine, and this PCV system needs to vent that pressure out properly. Now, sometimes when these valves fail, it will fail in a way that it just begins to kind of suck in oil, and it passes it back through the engine, through the top of the engine, where it should be burning fuel and air and
Right.
where the spark plugs are. So the easiest way to explain this, Emily, is that sometimes parts fail. It's like it's like having a light bulb in your house. Today it works, and then tomorrow you got to flip it on, and that darn thing it stopped working. So it's not necessarily that the shop did anything malicious. They just they really only recommend parts that actually fail. On these BMWs, I can tell you that these PCV valves fail frequently, and there's not always ways, but sometimes there is, but in most cases, there's not always ways to know that it's going to fail in 6 months or a year or, in 15,000 miles. Like they check it today, it's good. It doesn't really have like a service interval. They're not going to say, okay, well at 20,000 miles you need to replace this thing. Some cars do have that, but on this BMW it doesn't. But I can tell you these fail frequently, and they fail frequently. We see a lot of them fail when they're cold, because this system will sometimes have some moisture in it. The moisture begins to freeze up. When it freezes up, the water expands, and it'll split that valve. So we see more of them in the winter, excuse me, than we see in the summertime. So, I don't think that they did anything wrong. What they're saying sounds very valid. That valve, if it goes bad, can cause the car to burn oil. Maybe it just wasn't bad, and now that the vehicle is burning oil, the spark plugs could be maybe fouled. Depends on how bad they are too. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to replace them, but you might want to, if you're not comfortable there, get a second opinion somewhere else. Give them the diagnosis from the other shop, tell them what they said, and have this place look at it, and you may have the same diagnosis, or you may have a second opinion there, and then just figure out who you trust the most. Again, it kind of goes back to making sure that it's done right. So in a case like this, maybe the spark plugs don't need to be replaced, maybe they do. I don't really know. But again, I'm not telling you to find a lower bid or anything like that. Just get a second opinion until you feel comfortable with that shop, because it's not necessarily always about like the price of the repair. It's about like the delivery and the explanation. Like, does the shop make you feel comfortable? Do you feel that if something is going to go wrong with this process, like, is that shop going to be there to take care of it for you should something happen? Because I can tell you the best, like, we make mistakes, you know what I mean? We make mistakes. I'm not saying all the time, but I mean, mistakes happen frequently. We're people, their hands spinning nuts and bolts, things break, it just happens. So wherever you decide to take it, just make sure you feel comfortable, and then build a relationship there. That's the best way to ensure that your car is obviously going to run its best, and you're going to save as much money as possible. Jumping around place to place and always trying to find that next place, unless you're just not comfortable anywhere, is usually a recipe for disaster.
You're listening to the Boys Under the Hood. James Stevenson from Precision Auto Repair in West Springfield. Before we get out of here, well, let me just say first, you can always submit your car care questions on James's Facebook page in particular. There's a lot of helpful hints. One of the very cool things is you do put up fun and social activities like a lot of people usually use Facebook for, but there's also advice. There's also guidance for specific car questions. So you can always kind of turn to that and learn a little bit about your car, and you can drop your questions there as well. Precision Auto Repair in West Springfield. Just search them if you don't know where they are, or Lazer99.3.com for your questions. James, you're doing something very cool. And I'm happy to see this. Habitat for Humanity is a really noble group of people who literally build homes for people.
Build homes, yeah.
Who need the help.
Yeah.
What is Precision doing for that?
So the greater, we've recently partnered with the greater Springfield Habitat for I'm tongue-tied obviously, but the greater Springfield Habitat.
It happens. That's what she said. All right, no, enough.
So we've partnered with the greater Springfield Habitat for Humanity to try to raise some money for them. What the program is it runs. It started this week. It started yesterday, and it goes all the way through April 15th. It's basically what the name we decided to we fell on was Brakes for Homes, right? So we're gonna do it's if you need a brake job, right? You bring the car into us. We're gonna give you the brake pads for free. We're gonna charge you to do the rest of the work. So you pay to put the parts on the car if it needs rotors, if it needed a caliper, a hose, any other stuff. You're just gonna get the brake pads for free, kind of as an incentive to come in.
Right.
And then from there, 10% of the gross sales. So if it's $300, we're gonna give $30 to Habitat for Humanity. But we'll cut this program off in April 15th. So we did something like this maybe about a year ago for a nonprofit called the Cleveland Clinic. They do a lot of research for cancer. We did this. It's called Brakes for Breast for breast cancer, and it was a very, very successful program. We donated, I'm not sure the exact number, but it was a lot of money, and we're hoping that we can do the same right here in our community for Greater Springfield Habitat of Humanity. So if you need brakes, or you feel that you're going to need brakes in the next couple months, come in, we'll take a look at it. You'll get some free brake pads. On average, save you probably $70 to $150 just for the brake pads, and then you can feel pretty good about it because 10% of the entire repair is going to go right to Greater Springfield Habitat of Humanity. So we'd love to see you come in.
That's very cool, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks.
And thanks for coming by, man.
All right, bud.
We will. We'll see you next Tuesday.
We got to give away $25.
Oh, that's right. We got $25. Wait, I got some 50-cent.
Give it
music
to
behind us.
give it to Emily with the BMW. We'll double check your car for you.
Yeah, there you go, Em.
There you go, Emily.
Take it on, and it might not be that PCV pipe after all. I'm not the guy to be talking about cars. James Stevenson, thank you so much for dropping by, man. We'll be back next Tuesday right around this time for Boys Under the Hood.